All right, let's get into a Simply IOA game preview. Point number one we want to make as the Jaguars get ready to take on the Colts is create turnovers. The Jaguars' biggest helper in 2020 has been the turnover battle. It has kept them in games they're not supposed to be in, and that does not stop this week. The Colts are a better team. They have a better record, a 10-win team. They're healthier, they have more experience. So overall, the Jaguars shouldn't win this game. But if they want to stay competitive, they need to create turnovers on Sunday in Indianapolis. Number two, find a way to use the run to set up play action. Dare Ogunbowale will start this week again for the injured James Robinson, building off 71 yards last week. And best case is to use that run to set up the play action with Mike Glennon at starting quarterback once again this week. Number three, win at the line of scrimmage, offense and defense. When you share that battle at the line of scrimmage, Colts left tackle will have season-ending surgery. We found that out yesterday, but they will get their right tackle back. And overall, Brian, the Colts offensive line is a very impressive unit. The Jaguars defensive line, as we know, has been through all kinds of changes, whether it be injury or not playing well or opting out for COVID. So this is the biggest matchup we're going to have our eyes on.
Well, they have the best offensive lineman in football in Quentin Nelson, and they have Ryan Kelly at center, another first-round pick, and they're down their left tackle, and that's never a good thing. But even with a backup on that unit, it still ranks among the top 3 or 4 offensive lines in football. And we've talked about the quarterback thing so much this year. Mm-hmm. The reality of it is, over the last couple of weeks, we haven't focused on a defensive line that has a who's who, not a who's who. Right? Like when you had Malik Jackson and Marcel Darius and Calais Campbell, but a who's who, right? Daniel Akwale, last week, Daniel Ross, Doug Costin. Who? And this is a game of players and matchups, and they don't favor the Jaguars right now, and certainly not against a line as good as the Indianapolis Colts. Now, that's not to say that guys can't go out there and make plays. They can, but it's going to take a Herculean effort, cleaning the Aegean stables, so to speak, for this defensive line to find a way to get things done this week.
Yes, doesn't sound like a matchup in favor of the Jaguars' defensive line. And we talked about setting up the run and the play action and big thing, too. And James Robinson, unfortunately, will not be playing this week. And John, it's kind of a bummer. After the year he's had, you wanted to see him finish it off strong. You understand why he's not playing, and Dare Ogunbowale did well in his place, but kind of a bummer that he didn't finish off an incredible year by playing in the last 2 games.
Yeah, it's a bummer for him, absolutely. I think the thing that takes the edge off the bummer is that he can tell himself, and I hope he does in the next couple of weeks, I've made it in the NFL, meaning he's got a place. He's going to play in this league a long time. That was obviously his overarching goal this year, was to establish himself as a big-time running back, which he's going to be. He won't get the rookie undrafted free agent record of 1,105 yards. That'll be forgotten. I think this kid's got 1,300 yard seasons in his future. When the Jaguars get better, I think he's got Pro Bowls in his future. So that's the long term of this big thing. But I think the short term is, I don't know that his absence absolutely hurts the running game that much. It does a little, but they ran well last week. This running game this year, James Robinson's gotten all the credit. The running game has been just as much about the offensive line, which has run blocked extremely well. If they had run blocked this well, I'm going to go back to 2017 when they led the league in rushing. At the end of the season, they couldn't run block very well. This team is a very good run-blocking team that's gotten lost a little bit because it's a 1-14 team. I think they'll run the ball fine against the Colts. I just don't think the other matchups on defense, meaning the Jaguars' defense, favors them at all.
That's a really good point, Ashlyn. I have to jump in here because people who are holding to this idea that the Jaguars' offensive line either was a weak spot of the team or held them back this year, they're holding on to an old narrative. This offensive line, especially in the run game, as John pointed out, you wouldn't have had James Robinson have the kind of success that he had this year, especially as one-dimensional as this team turned out to be, unless the offensive line was giving him legitimate holes. This group, and it's likely to be different next year. Cam Robinson's a free agent. Andrew Norwell has a big salary. Brandon Linder's going into the final year of his deal. You don't know how it comes back. But this offensive line, as was predicted by Jay Gruden before the season began, was a strong point for this team this year. The sacks were largely on quarterback Gardner Minshew, who held the ball far too long in the pocket. Other than that, they played very well this year. And just look at last week and how clean Mike Glennon was with Khalil Mack racing to get him every play.
No, it is very true. And go back to the NFL Combine. Last year we were talking about what are they going to do with the offensive line, and the coaches said, we like our offensive line. We like it the way it is. And that's kind of a surprise to all of us, but now we're seeing that is definitely true. And that is your Simply Iowa game preview.